Welcome to Heart, where we break the silence, bridge the gaps, and bring real conversations about mental health to the forefront. I'm your host, Leigh, founder and director of The Long Short Road. Today's show is sponsored by Kaplan Interpreting Services. When every word matters, trust Kaplan Interpreting Services. From weddings where vows cross language barriers to therapy sessions and medical visits where clarity means everything, Kaplan ensures that no message gets lost. Businesses and law firms rely on us for accurate, compliant translations that protect and connect. Whether it's Italian at a ceremony or Spanish in the workplace, Kaplan bridges the gap because every word counts. Call 833-547-7770 or visit www.kaplaninterpreting.com to learn about how Kaplan Interpreting Services can be there for you. My guest today is Channy Mockin. She is an inner child and somatic coach. She facilitates group somatic silent disco events, which I'm so excited to talk to her about, and is passionate about bringing fun and play into the healing process. Channy, thank you so much for being here and joining us on the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited to be here.
I'm very excited too. So can you share your journey with us and what led you to becoming a somatic coach?
Yes, definitely. Okay. So I used to really struggle with anxiety. I had a very loud inner critic that would beat me up all the time.
Mm.
I had chronic pain, and I used to really try my best to avoid any difficult emotion.
Mm.
Um, I think there was a lot of wisdom in that at the time because I didn't yet process that I really had a godly essence that could really hold it all.
Mm.
So it was just, I had this beautiful protective part of me that was just like pushing down anything uncomfortable. And I really immersed myself in a lot of beautiful mindset work. It was hard work. It really felt like I was trying to live my life while I was holding this beach ball down underwater. And
Mm-hmm.
so it was exhausting. And I definitely just admire the part of me that was just trying to feel better and just trying to work hard. I didn't have the tools yet. I didn't have, everything yet, but I was really on my way. I was on my journey there. And I took this NLP coaching course.
Mm-hmm.
It was a really helpful modality. I really liked it, but I was still subtly using it to try to make any difficult emotion just go away. And so I still was really dealing with a lot of anxiety with my inner critic. And I remember just wanting to get rid of my inner critic just so badly. And everywhere I saw such well-meaning advice, but it really didn't help me at all. I would see things on Instagram and they would say, love yourself, be kind to yourself. And I would just feel worse because I'm like, okay, I want to be kind to myself. I want to love myself, but clearly I don't. So what do I do with this?
Mm.
And I remember I went to a myofascial release therapist. It's somebody who works on the body. I had chronic back pain, and so I went to her really for the back pain and really just because I knew that, the physical body needs to be worked on, but I don't think I really comprehended that there's an emotional aspect as well.
Mm.
And I went to her and she would work on me and she would, very subtly plant seeds. And she would say things like, where do you feel that in your body? And I didn't even know what she was talking about. I
Mm.
remember just being like, I don't know, I'm not in my body. Like, okay. And anyway, I remember coming home from that session with her and I put on a song. I don't know what inspired me to put on music. And I just cried and cried. And
Wow.
so something moved in that session. I didn't know exactly what it was, but seeds were planted and I started to hear about somatic work. And I remember thinking if I take another course, like I wanted to have somatic work in it. I knew it was something that was probably missing, but I didn't know much about it. And then about 4 years ago, I had my first psilocybin experience.
Mm.
And that shifted so much. In that experience, I had an actual experience in my body of knowing that pain is not bad. You
Wow.
just don't want to be alone in it. And I felt an experience of I'm not alone. I'm not alone in anything. I can feel whatever's here. It's safe. And after that experience, a few days later, I remember feeling really sad about something. And I started to, go into my mind and, and I was like, no, 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 you're not doing that. You're going into your body. And I put on a song. I put on a sad song and I was in my bathroom and I just kind of started moving with the music and just feeling what was there with love, with presence. And the song ended and I felt so good. And I remember being like, "Oh, this is what people are talking about when they say you feel something in your body and it actually moves through." I felt alive. I felt so good. And I got very passionate about music, dance, somatic. And very soon I signed up for my next course, which had somatic work, um, inner child work, parts work, mindset work, all of it. And that really changed things for me. I started relating to my inner critic in a different way, realizing that it's here for me, it's trying to help me with something.
Mm.
And that really shifted just the way that I operate. It really, um, yeah, and I developed my own kind of morning practice with music and with dance where I would feel into my feelings and hold those parts of me and rewire beliefs and really just rewire my whole nervous system this way. And so yeah, it's been incredible.
Wow. I'm like, wow, so powerful. And also like looking when you look back now on like on the person you were before you started doing all this work, like do you see where I can imagine like you see where the pieces were missing.
Absolutely.
And it
Absolutely.
And it is interesting because I find, I mean, I know that for myself that like I always intellectualized my emotional experiences and pushed my emotions down. And I know that that's a experience that many people resonate with. We're not taught that that feelings are allowed or that feelings are safe, right? If you feel
Exactly.
something bad, right? I don't even like to use the word bad. I don't think that any emotion is bad. They're all messengers. It's what we do with them that could
Yes.
be hurtful, right?
Absolutely.
So you developed and facilitate a program called the Embodiment Silent Disco. And I'm really curious to hear how that was developed and how it works and the kind of impact that you've seen it have on people who have participated.
Okay, so I mean, I'm so passionate about this because it's almost ridiculous, like that this $65 event is just so life-changing, and it's hard to find the words to really describe what it is, but I'm gonna try. I'm gonna do my best. So basically, I have distilled everything I've learned in all of my coaching certifications into this exact modality. And what we do is we really express through the body exactly what feels, present. And it's in a way that it's so gentle and it's so fun and it's so light and it's so loving that I don't even know if people can realize what has happened until they go home and they start processing and they're like, "Wow, that was so liberating." I thought there were so many people who come to these events and they say, "I thought I was just going to kind of like lay there and, have a more meditative experience. I'm not the type of person that's going to dance in front of other people." And when it starts, people just get really into it. Um, there's something about the silent disco aspect. There's something about the prompts. There's something about the music that I choose. There's just something about this container that is really, really special. So, what what all somatic work is trying to do is that our body is always communicating with us. Our inner
Mhm.
children that are inside of our body are always trying to communicate with us when they feel that there's a belief that they're holding on to that doesn't feel good and they want to kind of release it and be held and rewire it. They'll let us know in these subtle ways or maybe not so subtle
Not so
ways.
subtle ways, right?
Not so subtle ways. They start off subtle And so what this process really helps us do is to listen and to hold the parts of us that I mentioned I had a really strong inner critic.
Mhm.
When I started to learn that my inner critic was working so hard to try to keep me safe, it
Yeah.
was trying to really do its best, to keep me safe. It didn't know that it was safe for me to, go ahead and live out my dreams. And so it was trying to keep me smaller because it was trying to keep me safe. And so once I figured that out through the work that I do, I am able to change my relationship with that critic. And when the critic comes up, I'm able to hold that part of me and say, what are you trying to do for me? How are you trying to keep me safe? And I'm able to give that part of me the safety that it's actually looking for. And when we do this with music, with that music is naturally co-regulating because when
Mhm.
you hear a song, it's like, oh my gosh, I'm not the only person who's ever felt this way. And
Right.
there's somebody that wrote a song about it. And
Right.
all these people that are here feel this way. And then doing this in this group, somehow it's magic. And I really don't have the words, but I do have the the feedback that I get, that it was just liberating and that people feel like, "Oh my gosh, I was acting like a kid again. I haven't done that in so long. I didn't care what anybody thought of me, and I thought I would. I thought I would be self-conscious," and that's really the kind of feedback that I get at these events. And for me, what's really special is that I've been doing my practice of expressing myself through dance and movement and with music. I've been doing that, home in my bathroom for years now. And doing it in this group, it's healing for me. And I
Yeah.
also get to witness so much healing. But I am not the kind of person who would have maybe even gone to an event and felt comfortable just dancing in front of other people. For a while, I wasn't that kind of person. Now I am. But it's just wild that when you're just doing this work and it's so transformational, it's so life changing, that you start to realize, oh, I'm not actually self conscious like I thought I was in certain situations where I feel safe.
Right.
And yeah, so it brings a lot of safety to connecting with other people and to being seen in your light and to being seen in your more difficult emotions. And so, yeah, I'm very, very passionate about it and I love doing them. It's fun for
It
me.
it sound I mean, and that's the key that you just said, that it's fun for you, and I think that's part of probably what makes it so empowering and impactful for people is that it's fun. I think
Yeah.
so much of the healing process, I was just speaking to someone yesterday, and and he was sharing with me that, sometimes after his therapy sessions, he would sit in his car for a full hour after the session just to be able to muster up the energy to drive home because whatever
Mhm.
came up in therapy was
Ugh,
so intense that he had to like work to get his bearings to just like go on with his life. And so much of healing is challenging and brings up hard stuff, and it's not necessarily so pleasant. It's not always a joyful experience. So if you could bring fun and play into the experience of embodying yourself, like that is super powerful. Um,
yes, I
you
agree.
mentioned you mentioned that you use prompts in the embodiment silent disco. What kind of prompts do you use? And like, is everyone listening to the same song? Does everyone get to pick their own song? Like, how does that work?
Yeah, so everybody's listening to the same prompts and the same music. It's kind of a journey that I'm leading you on, but it's all
Mhm.
very personal how you work with it.
Sure.
But with the ones that I've been doing, what we first focus on is, what does your dream life look like?
Mm,
If you told me that this was the best year of your life, what would have happened?
mhm.
And that's kind of like the first prompt, and we get into what that feels like in our bodies with music and with dance, and we really just embody what that would feel like.
Wow.
And then when you do that, what's so beautiful about our nervous systems is that suddenly all of the things that have blocked us from having that come up to be rewired.
Right.
So the part of us that doesn't believe we could have that, the part of us that, you know, puts us down, the part of us that is too scared, and the part of us that knows that if I get that, then I might hurt somebody else in the process. Like
Right.
all of our patterns, all of our parts, our younger, inner child parts come right up, which is great because then we can work with them and then we can
Right.
rewire them. So I take people on a journey of really asking those parts of us, how are they trying to serve us? What do they
Mhm.
want for us? And can we give them that directly? And we do that with music and with dance, and it's beautiful because it's loving, it's gentle, it's fun, and we're rewiring our nervous systems in the process. Um, and then at the end, of the whole journey, we're also thinking, well, what's one small thing that I can do
Mhm.
to live toward what it is that I want? I know that the parts of me that are scared are going to come up. They're supposed to. And
Right.
I have a new way of being with them. And what's one small thing that I can do? And we're kind of rewiring the nervous system all along the way. And the main thing with nervous system work and somatic work is repetition.
Right.
So it's a journey where we just keep like reaffirming what it is that we want and what we're heading toward and holding the parts of us that are scared. And I have people who just keep coming back because they're like, I just want to do this every time you offer it.
Right.
And yeah, it's really, really it's what changed my life. So I'm very confident that it's really powerful.
Yeah.
And now
And
I'm just
I hear that in your voice that like this was something, it's not something that that you're offering to people and you're not engaging with it. Like this worked for you and now you're offering it to others because you've seen the impact.
Yes, I will say it's transformed literally every area of my life, so I'm very, very grateful,
That's
and
it's
yeah,
amazing. And one thing that I appreciate that you mentioned this idea of coming away with a small thing that you can do to embody whatever it is that you want to achieve. I think so often in healing, we have this idea that we have to, go big or go home. Okay, now I have to make some huge life shift. I have to completely transform or it's not going to work. And actually, what helps, as you said, what helps the nervous system rewire and for healing to actually take hold is to, in small ways, do repetitive action to reaffirm. Um, I think it's John Gottman who uses the phrase small things often, and he uses it in the context of like relationships and giving towards relationships. But I think that's all like that's just true of healing and being human. The more often you're giving to yourself in the small ways, the more likely it's actually going to take hold and take root and shape you, right? Nervous system rewiring doesn't happen in one one foul swoop, right? Like it
right?
takes time.
I love that, and especially, what you're saying is so important because one of the ways that our nervous system tries to protect us is by encouraging us to take on really big shifts because
Sure.
it's so protective because I remember when I was working so hard with my mindset work without the somatic component, I would literally write down 20 new things I was gonna do, and I was so determined to do them, and then, of course, a day or 2 of doing and I would be like, "Oh, I guess I can't do any of it. I guess
Right,
I just have to stay the same," and
right.
that's a beautiful way that the nervous system is trying to keep us safe by trying to keep us in the familiar. It
Hmm.
doesn't know that anything that's unfamiliar could be safe for us.
Right.
So it's a beautiful, beautiful way, and we get to thank those parts of us and then let it know, I'm gonna take the tiny little steps that I can repeat over and over and over. And before you know it, you're like, wow, I actually can't believe I shifted so much. But
Right.
it's meant to be small steps.
Yeah, as you were saying your experience of like writing down these big things that you wanted to achieve, what came to mind for me was almost identical experience of like trying to work through trauma without actually focusing on where it was in my body, like no awareness of, oh yeah, I should work through what's happening in my body. And I remember reading Brene Brown's book Daring Greatly, and her whole thing is like you dare and you go into the arena and then you fail and then you get back up. And I remember trying to do these massive undertakings and then failing in ridiculous ways, and the messaging being, well, I guess everybody else can do this, but there's something wrong with me.
Oh, yeah.
And really, though, what it comes down to is recognizing like we do have to work with our bodies.
Yes.
And,
Yes.
you know, one of the ways that I love to describe it is we have to remember that our brain is embodied in our body, right?
Mm,
So,
I love that.
you can't only focus on what's happening in your head. You have to remember that your brain is also in your body through your nervous system, and that if you're not working on that aspect of the brain, like healing doesn't really take hold.
Yes. Yes. We mind, body, soul, and we have to have it work all together. Because our nervous system is really designed in a very genius way to keep us safe. So if we try to work without it, we're just going to be pushing really, really hard and not really getting where we want to get to.
It's like pushing a door that says pull.
Exactly. 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 And that's
It's
what
like, why is this not working?
and nobody taught us about our nervous system. So of course that's what we do.
Oh
And then,
my,
you know,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Isn't that amazing though that like, you know, as as adults that we have the ability to do that for ourselves, but that also we can like pass on those messaging to our kids so they don't have to learn this the way that we had to learn it, which is like kind of the hard way.
Yeah, yeah, it's beautiful. I mean, I love every part of my journey because I just see how it brought me to exactly where I am, at this moment. But I am happy for people to be able to access these tools earlier in their life
Yeah.
and yeah, it's a beautiful time that we have so many tools available and so much support available.
Yeah. No, it's definitely, but I hear what you're saying that, I mean, that's the thing. If we didn't have our struggles and we didn't have our challenges and our journeys, then we wouldn't be the people we are.
Exactly.
And if you go back and erase everything that happened to you to get you to this point, then you wouldn't be the person that you are and the healer that you are.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
it's kind of like a funny it's like a both and. You don't want to have had those challenges, but they also helped you become the person you are.
Exactly. I actually I have a quick story
Yeah,
about
please.
my somatic silent disco. The first one I did, I got really great feedback, but I had a technical issue with my equipment. Um and I felt like it was a complete failure. And
Mm,
everybody, I reached out to me with such beautiful feedback, but I came home from that event and I felt like I failed.
mm,
And for the next few days, I literally just felt awful. I went to my therapist and I really was just having a really hard time with it. And all of a sudden it dawned on me like, oh my God, this is exactly what I teach.
right.
That when you're doing something scary, that's new, your nervous system will try to tell you, please don't ever do that again. I want to keep you safe. And so
Right.
it will employ the inner critic. It will tell you you're a failure. And like when it finally dawned on me, like, oh my gosh, I teach this stuff and I forgot because
Right.
this is just, part of the human experience. I worked through it. I worked through everything that it brought up and really processed. And at my next event, I just throughout the process, I kept thinking, if that had not happened, I would not be the person that I am at this event. I wouldn't
Right.
have healed what I needed to heal to be here right now. And it was such a beautiful moment for me. It felt really divine. And so that is really the work, you know,
Yeah.
doing the scary thing. Things are going to come up. You're going to have to be with those things. You're going to have to love on those parts of you and you transform in the process.
Yeah. Totally. I feel that so deeply. And it's a process. And
Yeah.
it's not always comfortable to like let those parts of yourself rise to the surface.
No, it's not.
Um, but it's necessary.
Which yeah.
It's
It's why
both.
I like to bring a lot of play and fun and
Yeah.
pleasure to it because, for me, that's the only way.
Yeah. No, because otherwise it feels so, I can imagine, I mean, and I know from my own experience, it feels so daunting. The
Yes.
the prospect of facing these parts of yourself can be very overwhelming.
Yeah, I would just say do it with support, do it with fun, look out for the things that light you up and do those often. Really take good care of yourself because support is everything. The support that's always available to us in nature, in music. There's so much available, and
Yeah.
yeah, and I like to make it fun.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, okay, so I'm gonna have to come to Florida to do a silent disco
Yes, I would love that.
party.
I would love that.
I'm
Yes. Yes.
Um, so before we end tonight's segment, and really I'm so grateful that you were here and I loved this conversation. I wonder if you have a message of hope for anyone who's listening who's maybe at the start of their journey, and their healing experience.
Yes. So I would say that I wish that I knew this about all healing work. And so I want to share this to go into any coaching, any healing, knowing that you're already whole, you're
Mm.
already worthy, you have a divine essence, and any part of you that doesn't feel that yet is not a problem to be fixed. It's just a younger part of you that's looking for love, it's looking for safety. And I would say, especially the part of you that feels that it needs to be fixed, needs a lot of love and safety. And your godly essence already loves those parts of you and already appreciates how hard those parts are working for you, and already knows how to give those parts of you exactly what they need.
Mm.
Even if those parts don't feel it yet, there is support available to begin to access that.
Beautiful. I mean, I don't know. I'm not speaking for anyone who's listening. I'm speaking for myself. That was what I needed to hear today. So thank you for that,
Mhm.
Connie.
Oh, I'm so glad. I'm so glad we got to have this conversation.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thanks for being here and making the time. I really appreciate it.
My absolute pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to Heart to Heart. If you or someone you love is struggling, please know there is hope and help is within reach. Since 2019, the Long Short Road has been walking alongside at-risk individuals, offering trauma-informed programs, a non-emergency hotline, and a community that fosters healing. No one has to go through this alone, and we are here for you. Discover how the Long Short Road is changing lives. Visit www.thelongshortroad.com or email us at info@thelongshortroad.com to learn more. You can be part of this mission. Sponsorship opportunities for Heart to Heart are available. Honor a loved one, support your community, and help us make mental wellness resources accessible to those who need them most. Until next time, remember, love and connection are the greatest healers. This is Leigh reminding you, hope is here, healing is possible, and you are never alone. Together, we're walking this long, short road to a brighter future.